Welcome back to What's Going On in Germany. I'm Peter Dawell, and with me today is Nora Kane. You guys wanted to know how Germany is shaping the future, and you sent us some really interesting EU documents on artificial intelligence, specifically the AI Act. Nora, this is a pretty big deal, right?
Absolutely. The AI Act, it was adopted in 2024, and it'll actually be applicable starting in 2026. It's basically the rule book for AI in the EU. It's causing a lot of buzz because it's really one of the first comprehensive attempts to regulate AI, and its impact goes way beyond just Germany's borders. Think about it this way. Any company, including American ones, that want to do business in the EU, they have to play by these rules.
So it's an EU-wide thing, not just a German law. But why should Americans care about some EU law?
That's where things get interesting for your American listeners. Remember how popular AI tools like ChatGPT are? Well, the AI Act governs these general-purpose AI systems too. So even American companies developing them have to comply with EU standards, like copyright laws and being transparent about their training data, if they want access to the European market.
So even if you're an American company, you can't just ignore this AI Act.
Exactly. And it's not just about market access. The EU is setting a precedent here. Other countries are watching closely. And we might see similar regulations popping up around the world.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this deep dive is important, but let's get into the details. What does this AI Act actually say?
It takes what's called a risk-based approach. Basically, the stricter the rules are, the riskier the AI system is.
So low-risk AI gets less scrutiny, and high-risk AI gets the full treatment.
Precisely. And for some AI applications, the EU decided the risks were just too high, so they banned them completely.
Wait, banned? Like totally illegal? What kind of AI are we talking about here?
This is where it gets really fascinating, especially for an American audience that's used to a less regulated tech environment. For example, imagine an AI system that can manipulate people's behavior through subliminal techniques. You know, like those dystopian sci-fi movies where people are being controlled without realizing it. The AI Act says, nope, not gonna happen.
Wow, that's right out of Black Mirror. What else is on that banned list?
Another one is AI that exploits vulnerabilities of specific groups, like children or people with disabilities. The EU is really focused on protecting those who might be more susceptible to manipulation or harm.
Makes sense. So no AI systems that prey on the vulnerable. What else?
Remember that Black Mirror episode Nosedive, where everyone's life is ruled by their social score? The AI Act prohibits AI systems that create those kinds of social scores. The EU is taking a firm stance against that because of the potential for discrimination and injustice.
Okay, I gotta admit, that one is a bit creepy to think about. Becoming reality, I mean. Anything else that got banned?
You know how some companies have been scraping facial images from the internet to build these huge facial recognition databases? Yeah, the AI Act puts a stop to that, especially indiscriminate scraping without consent. It's a big win for privacy.
So the EU is basically saying, hands off our data. I bet that's popular in Germany with their strong emphasis on privacy.
Absolutely. Germans are very privacy conscious, and this part of the AI Act really reflects those values. But here's something that might surprise some listeners. There are actually exceptions for law enforcement using real-time biometric identification, like facial recognition, in public spaces.
Really? After all those other things were banned, what's the catch?
It's only allowed for very specific, serious crimes, like kidnapping or terrorism. Think crimes with a minimum 4-year prison sentence. And even then, it requires authorization from a judge.
So it's not a free pass. There are strict rules.
Yeah.
But still interesting that the EU is trying to find that balance between security needs and privacy concerns.
Exactly. It's complicated. And the AI Act tries to address that with very nuanced regulations.
Okay, now I'm curious about those high-risk AI systems we talked about earlier. What are those?
This is where the AI Act gets pretty detailed. High-risk systems include AI used in things like critical infrastructure, so think transportation, energy grids, that kind of stuff. But it also covers AI used in education, healthcare, finance, and even elections. Basically, any area where AI could really impact people's lives or fundamental rights.
So let's say an American company wants to use AI to help with hiring at their German branch. Would that fall under the AI Act?
Absolutely. That's likely to be considered high risk because it can impact people's livelihoods and opportunities. So they would need to comply with those specific requirements in the AI Act.
Okay, so break it down for me. What does compliance actually look like in the real world?
Well, first off, these high-risk systems need to be assessed really thoroughly for any potential risks before they can even be used.
So no more secret algorithms making decisions about us.
That's the idea. These systems need to be transparent, so people understand how they work and how decisions are made. There also needs to be human oversight to make sure everything's working properly and to step in if there are problems.
Okay, transparency and accountability. But what if someone thinks an AI system has treated them unfairly?
Here's where the AI Act gets really interesting. You actually have the right to complain about an AI system and to get an explanation for decisions that impact you.
Wow, so you can actually challenge the AI. That's a pretty powerful right.
It is. It shows how the EU is focused on making sure AI serves humanity, not the other way around.
This is all pretty mind-blowing. We've covered the banned AI, the risk-based approach, the rules for high-risk systems.
Mhm.
What else is in this AI Act?
Well, there's a whole section on deepfakes, those AI-generated fake videos that
Yeah.
are getting so realistic.
Oh, yeah, those are getting really good. Sometimes I can't even tell the difference anymore.
Exactly. And the AI Act recognizes that and the potential for misuse to spread disinformation and manipulate people.
So what does it actually say about them?
It requires clear labeling of deepfakes so people know they're not looking at real footage. It's all about transparency and fighting against fake news.
Makes sense. Anything else?
One last thing I wanted to mention is the idea of regulatory sandboxes.
Sandboxes, like at a playground.
Not quite. They're controlled environments where companies can test out their AI systems in real-world settings before they're fully deployed.
So a safe space for trying things out without breaking the rules or causing any harm.
Exactly. It's a way for the EU to encourage innovation, but still keep an eye on things and make sure everything stays ethical.
Wow, we've covered a lot just in this first part of our deep dive. I have a feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg, though.
You're right. We've only just scratched the surface of the AI Act and all its implications for Germany and the world. Welcome back to our deep dive into Germany's approach to AI. We've started to unpack the EU's Artificial Intelligence Act, and now it's time to see how they plan to actually enforce it.
Yeah, those regulatory sandboxes sound interesting, letting companies experiment with new AI. But how do you make sure everyone actually follows the rules, especially in a field as complex as AI, and one that's changing so fast?
That's a really important question, and the EU has clearly given it a lot of thought. The AI Act sets up a multi-layered system for enforcement. It involves both national authorities and EU-level bodies.
So who's the good cop and who's the bad cop?
While each EU country, including Germany, they each choose a supervisory authority to oversee AI. They're like the AI watchdog.
So in Germany, there's a specific government agency whose job it is to keep AI in check. What exactly do they do?
They're the ones on the ground, making sure companies understand the rules. They investigate complaints, and they can even hand out penalties if necessary.
Sounds like a powerful position. But what if a company tries to get around the rules by going to a different EU country that's less strict?
That's where the EU-level oversight comes in. The AI Act creates a European Artificial Intelligence Board with members from each EU country and the European Commission.
So it's like having a central authority to keep everyone on the same page.
Exactly. The board makes sure the AI Act is applied the same way across all 27 EU countries, so you don't have different interpretations or enforcement practices.
Okay, I see. A unified approach makes sense, especially when you're dealing with multinational companies and a technology that crosses borders so easily. What about the penalties, though? Are we talking a slap on the wrist or something more serious?
The EU is serious about regulating AI. Companies that break the AI Act can face huge fines, up to 30 million euros, or 6% of their global annual turnover, whichever is higher.
6% of global turnover. Wow, that's a lot of money. Enough to make any company think twice, even the big tech giants.
It sends a strong message. The EU is serious about creating a responsible AI environment, and they're not afraid to back it up with some serious financial consequences.
So we've got watchdogs at the national level, an EU board to keep everyone honest, and big fines for anyone who breaks the rules. Seems pretty thorough. But what about everyday people? Where do they fit in?
The AI Act isn't just focused on companies and governments. It recognizes that individual rights and citizen participation are important too.
So it's not just bureaucrats and tech giants calling all the shots. Regular people have a voice.
Absolutely. The AI Act gives individuals rights and ways to fight back if they believe an AI system has treated them unfairly or broken the rules.
Let's say I'm in Germany, and I think a company is using an AI system in a discriminatory way. What can I do?
Well, you have the right to file a complaint with the National Supervisory Authority. They have to investigate it.
So even if it's a giant company, an individual can raise their concerns and be heard.
Exactly. And it's not just about complaining. If a high-risk AI system makes a decision that affects you, like we talked about earlier in hiring or loan applications, you have the right to an explanation.
So no more black box algorithms deciding my fate. Without any explanation, I can actually find out why I got rejected for that job or loan.
That's the idea. Transparency and accountability. The AI Act wants to make sure people aren't just passive victims of AI. It gives them the power to ask questions and get answers.
That's what's really interesting about the AI Act. It's not just setting rules, it's shifting the power dynamic, giving individuals more control in a world that's increasingly dominated by algorithms.
And that really fits with what we see in German culture and politics, that emphasis on individual rights and citizen participation. They're applying those same ideas to technology.
We've talked a lot about what's in the AI Acts
Hmm.
and how it will be enforced. But let's zoom out a bit. Why is Germany and the EU in general, why are they taking such a proactive stance on this? What's the bigger picture here?
It's about more than just setting rules. It's about shaping the future of AI to match their values and goals.
So what exactly are those values and goals?
First, they want people to trust AI. They know that for people to really embrace this technology, they need to feel confident that it's being used responsibly. That means clear rules
Yeah.
and ethical boundaries.
Yeah, AI can do amazing things, but it can also be misused. So having some safeguards in place makes sense.
Exactly. Second, the EU, and Germany specifically, they're really big on protecting fundamental rights, things like human dignity, non-discrimination,
Yeah.
and privacy. The AI Act is designed to make sure AI upholds those rights.
Which ties back to what we were saying before about Germany's focus on individual rights and data protection. They're bringing those principles into the digital world. But it can't just be about restrictions, right? They want to encourage innovation too, don't they?
Definitely. The EU knows that AI can drive economic growth and solve big problems in society. By creating a clear and trustworthy regulatory environment, they're hoping to encourage investment in AI and make the EU a global leader in this field.
So it's about finding the right balance between fostering innovation and protecting people's rights.
That's exactly it. And a big part of that is making sure that the benefits of AI are shared widely, not just concentrated in the hands of a few.
It's a delicate balance, but it seems like Germany is committed to making it work. Realistically, though, the EU can only control what happens within its borders. AI is a global thing. How do they plan to influence what happens on a global scale?
Germany hopes the AI Act will be like a blueprint for global AI regulation. They're talking to other countries, working on collaborations. They want to inspire other nations to adopt similar frameworks.
So they're trying to set a standard for responsible AI development that the whole world can follow.
That's a good way to put it. They think a unified approach based on ethical principles and putting humans first. That's the best way to make sure AI benefits everyone.
It's ambitious, but I can see how it fits with Germany's history of promoting international cooperation and diplomacy.
It won't happen overnight. But the EU's AI Act, with Germany leading the charge, it's a big step in the right direction.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the specifics of the AI Act to the broader context of German values and their vision for the future.
We've seen how they're planning to enforce the rules, how they're empowering individuals, and their efforts to shape the global landscape of AI.
Welcome back to What's Going On in Germany. We've been talking about the EU's Artificial Intelligence Act. This thing is a game changer, not just for Europe, but for AI around the world. We've talked about what's in it, how they'll enforce it, and why Germany is taking such a lead on all this. But let's be real for a second. What are the challenges here? And what are the potential benefits for Germany as they go down this road?
Yeah, it's uncharted territory. The AI Act is a bold vision, but putting it all into practice, that won't be easy. One of the biggest hurdles I see is just the speed of everything. AI innovation is happening so fast.
It's like trying to hit a moving target, right? AI is constantly evolving. New applications are popping up all the time. How do you regulate something that's always changing?
Exactly. The regulators will have to be super adaptable, always learning new things and adjusting their approach. If they fall behind, the whole AI Act could become irrelevant.
So being flexible is key. I can also imagine that finding the right balance between regulation and innovation will be a challenge. Too much regulation, and you risk stifling creativity. You might prevent the development of beneficial AI. But too little regulation, and who knows what could happen, it could be a disaster.
It's a tough balancing act, and Germany knows that. It's a sensitive issue. That's why the AI Act focuses on risk. They're targeting regulation where it's most needed, but they're also leaving space for experimentation
Yeah.
and innovation in areas where the risks are lower.
Yeah, those regulatory sandboxes we discussed earlier seem like a good step in that direction.
Yeah.
But finding that right balance, it's going to be an ongoing process. Lots of trial and error, I bet.
Absolutely. And then there's the global aspect of all this. The EU can set rules for Europe, but AI development is happening everywhere. What if other countries don't do the same? It creates an uneven playing field. You could even end up with completely different ethical standards in different parts of the world.
So you try to regulate it in one place and it just pops up somewhere else with fewer rules.
It's definitely a concern. Germany's aware of that. That's why they're involved in international discussions. Collaborating with other countries, they're pushing for a more unified approach to AI regulation and ethical guidelines.
They want the whole world to adopt their vision of responsible AI.
In a way, yes. They believe that a global approach is the best way to go, an approach that prioritizes human well-being and ethical considerations.
The big goal. But hey, someone has to take the lead. Let's talk about the potential benefits for a minute.
Yeah.
What are the upsides for Germany as they embrace AI and shape the rules around it?
From an economic perspective, AI has the potential to completely change industries, boost productivity, create new jobs. Germany's putting a lot of resources into this. Research and development, education, supporting AI startups. They see AI as a major driver of future economic growth.
So it's not about robots taking our jobs. It's about using AI to enhance human capabilities,
Yeah.
open up new opportunities.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just the economy. AI can help us tackle some of the biggest challenges we face: climate change, healthcare, education. Germany wants to use AI to make a positive impact. Imagine AI optimizing our energy grids to fight climate change. Or
It sounds like Germany's taking a balanced approach. Cautious, but also optimistic. They understand the risks, but they also see the potential for good.
Yes, and by setting high ethical standards and taking a lead in regulation, Germany could become a magnet for talent and investment. They could be the global center for responsible AI.
It's a gamble, but the potential payoff is huge.
You could say that. Germany is taking a calculated risk. They're betting that ethical AI will be the most successful AI in the long run.
Well, listeners, that's a wrap for our deep dives into Germany's journey into the world of AI. We've explored the EU's AI Act, learned about Germany's plans for enforcement, and talked about the challenges and opportunities ahead. What are your thoughts? Are you excited? Concerned? Maybe a bit of both. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep exploring the world with us on What's Going On in Germany.